What's good, y'all? This is Jamon. This is the Jamon Bolton Show, and thank you for tuning in. Today, I want to talk about the hottest topic in sports right now. We're talking about the Indiana University winning their first national championship. And I think if you're like me, you'd probably agree. Some people may disagree, but somebody would probably agree and say that this is the greatest turnaround in college football history. When I think of some of the great turnarounds in college football, even shit, all of college sports is probably the greatest turnaround. When I think of some of the great turnarounds in college football history, I don't think anything comes close to this. I mean, you look at some other programs historically that are known historically for having great records and great teams and that have won national championships. Florida State instantly comes to mind where Bobby Bowden took it from to where it's at now. It's not the greatest program in the world right now, but you get what I'm trying to say. And then you look at other programs that have come through this, Howard Schnellenberger, what he did with Miami initially, when he got them started, could put them on the path to being a blue blood. When he took Miami over, they weren't a really good team. You look at the UDoc, they were giving away tickets at Burger King at one point in time because nobody would go to the game. And he eventually made them a winner and then ended up winning the national championship his last year there before he moved on. But he put them on the path to being one of the greatest college teams of all time, college programs of all time. That's a great turnaround in itself. But I think this right here has just been incredible. I mean, Indiana's been a dormant my entire life. Teams that have gone from that bad to where Indiana was, prior to Kirk Cignetti getting there, they were 3-9 and 4-8. The one team that comes to mind is the Northwestern teams from '94 and '95 when they had that remarkable run, with Darnell Autry and Pat Fitzgerald. They were pretty bad, and then they had a miracle season. They went 10-2 that year. They made it to the Rose Bowl, and had they not lost to Miami of Ohio, and then had they won the Rose Bowl, there's a chance Northwestern could have won a national championship, but it never occurred because obviously they didn't get the job done. But that was like a crazy time, but it didn't really last long. That was a quick 2-year run, and they kind of declined that second year. They lost 3 games. What Kirk Cignetti has done in Indiana, I mean, I could have never saw this happening. We saw the press conference. Everybody's extremely confident when they get a job. Everybody. Look at any coach. No matter what their record is, they always say the same thing. I'm here to win. We're going to change things around. We're going to get it going. And then they don't get things going. I thought it was going to be the same thing with Kirk Cignetti. Look, I didn't know Kirk Cignetti like that. I'm not deep in these streets as far as coaching hires go. Heard the name, ESPN, James Madison. You hear the name, but to know his record, you don't know. When he got hired, he told a reporter, Google me, I win. And he's won everywhere he's gone. He wasn't lying. You look at when he started at IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, 53 and 17 there. Went to Elon College. He was there for 2 seasons. He turned them around. Had 6 consecutive losing seasons. His first year there, they went from 2-9 to 8-4. And then you look at James Madison. My God, like he just, he did nothing but win there. He was amazing at James Madison. 14-2 in his first season. Almost won a national championship. Helped the transition up to the FBS level. It was a seamless transition. There wasn't any hiccups. He kept the program going the way it was supposed to go. And then now he's at Indiana. And last season, it was like, oh, this is interesting. He had a hot start, 8-0. Everything looked good. Everything looked great. And, the first ever 11-win season in school history, made the college football playoff. Like, wow, Indiana was really doing something special. And they came back this year, and I didn't have any expectations. They won on my bingo card to make the college football playoff again. I figured they may get 9-10 wins, may get another bowl. But then the season kept going and going and going. And look, we're here now. Indiana's national champions. And everybody seemed to always think they were never going to win a close one. The game against Penn State, the game against Oregon, the game against Ohio State. I'm talking about the first game against Oregon. The game against Ohio State, everybody thought all those games they would lose, and they found a way to win, and they came through. I mean, it's just amazing what Kirk Cignetti has done with the team. Extremely disciplined, what he did with Fernando Mendoza, having him come over to transfer portal, making him, a Heisman Trophy winner. And you look at all the roster that he has, the guys, brought a bunch of guys from James Madison over with him. A lot of those guys, his players, they know him. A lot of those guys, I tell you, they weren't ranked in high school. Fernando Mendoza, 2-star recruit. And I hear the whispers of everybody saying, oh, they're old, average age is 23. Big deal. This is what college sports is now. Obviously, we know if Indiana was dealing with the old system, the old archaic way of things, this wouldn't have been possible, right? Because you got to have the transfer portal and some things work in your favor. They worked the system the right way. They worked the system the right way. And just to see it unfold has just been incredible. I'm not an alum. I'm not an Indiana fan. I don't want to get up here and I don't want to start jumping on the bandwagon. But, I think a lot of people will probably say this is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in sports. I may go on a ledge. I may be out here on a ledge by myself when I say this, but this might be the greatest turnaround in sports history. This might be one of the greatest things I've ever seen in sports. I've seen some people that, today on social media talking about the Miracle on Ice. That's an incredible turnaround, incredible upset. But just what Indiana's done, it's got to be up there. One of the greatest sports stories of all time. I know college football, hands down, greatest turnaround. I don't think we've ever seen anything quite like it. Now, as far as overall sports, it's probably in the top 5, top 7 greatest turnarounds of sports history. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of things. I mean, it's a lot of things that I don't know off the head right now that I can't go off the head about, but it ranks up there because nobody saw this happen. And I think what Curt Cignetti's done, he's hottest coach in America right now. I think if he wanted to go anywhere else, he could go, have the pick of the litter. But I think he's in a great spot right now. You don't have to go to a big job. He said it best. You can get it done in Indiana. You're in a good position. So I think right now he stays here. He builds Indiana up to be a great team for years to come. Don't know how well they'll do, but they struck when iron was hot. They got them a national championship. Can't say anything else about it. But this is incredible, man. For my money, greatest greatest college football turnaround ever, and one of the greatest turnarounds in all of sports history. But that's all I got for now, man. I appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate you listening. Appreciate your time. Be sure to tune in. I got more of these, and I'll be back doing more of these, more short topics, and looking forward to seeing you guys around.